Hello world, hello YouTube, hello everybody. This is Prepper Princess. This video is going to be about living debt-free. And a lot of people think that living debt-free is the end-all to all of their woes, the end of all of their worries. And that's not necessarily true. I watch a lot of Starry Hilder. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her. If you get a chance, check out her videos. She lives off-grid in a homestead. And that's pretty much what I've been trying to do with my suburban house. I can't really go off-grid. I mean, I technically can, but it's not something that I'm super interested in this area, is becoming off-grid. If I were to go off-grid, I would, of course, move into something in the mountains. And one of the things that I do is I live completely debt-free. My house is paid off. My credit cards, I pay them off bi-weekly. I have my cars free and clear. You know, I don't have any debt. What I try to do is set things up so that, you know, on my suburban homestead, I will be able to grow a lot of my own food. I have to work on canning in order to get myself through the winter on what I grow. One of the things about growing is, I'll get back into the debt thing, but one of the things about growing is, you know, I'll bring a lot of my food into work and people will say, well, don't you like tomatoes? Don't you like artichokes? Don't you like blackberries? Well, of course I do. I love them. Don't you like apples? Yeah, I like all of those things. But when you grow them, when you're harvesting your own and you're growing your own, typically you get tired of eating the same thing over and over, so you just end up bringing them, you know, to your work, you know, because they all get harvested at about the same time, so you have an overabundance of artichokes, you know. Something like, I could probably pick 3 artichokes a day, you know, for 3 months. But that gets really tiresome, and I haven't figured out how to can, so I end up bringing them into work. Same thing with all the other stuff. You know, I get, you know, 60 apples at a time. I can't eat 60 apples, you know, I'll get tired of it. And, you know, you try and work on getting your bills as low as humanly possible by growing your own food, and that's one of the things that I do, but I have to work on the canning. So, back to the debt thing. So when your house is paid off, you know, you've got your house paid off, and everybody's like, oh, my house is paid off, you know, I'm going to be super rich. Well, that's not necessarily the case. Where, you know, you have to, a lot of people think that they can quit working and just, you know, do a part-time, you can, if you have no other goals, you can do just a simple part-time job, but you would still have to save your money. You know, people don't think about sewage, electricity, garbage, cable, internet, cell phone, property taxes. Property taxes here are $3,600 a year for me, and that's with Proposition, I believe, 12 or 13, where it didn't get raised when I inherited the house. So $3,600 a year adds up to about $300 a month. If I didn't inherit the house in 2010 when that proposition came into play, my property taxes would be between $7,000 and $10,000 a year. That is pretty much, you know, unaffordable. If that were the case, I wouldn't be able to live here anymore. You know, making $42,000 a year after taxes, you're really only bringing home about $2,200 a month. And with other things, you know, you have to spend money on gas, food, clothing, all those other things, you know, it doesn't really add up. You know, one of the things I'm doing is saving up for a second house, and when I get that second house, hopefully I'll get an extra $500 a month income. I can lower my hours at work and continue to save until I have about 3 houses, and then once I have the 3 houses, I won't have to work anymore. But in the meantime, you know, being a prepper and turning your suburban house into as much as you can into a suburban homestead, while of course keeping your significant other happy, is not an easy task. You know, with becoming completely off-grid and independent, you would have to drill your own well. That's, you know, $10,000 right there. You'd have to get solar. That's $20,000 right there. And where I live, you are not allowed to install solar off-grid. You have to install solar on-grid. So if there were ever a blackout, I would still be in a blackout. You know, the solar would pay for my solar electricity, but then there's also gas. You know, my water heater and heating system works on natural gas. So if I were to convert into solar, I would still have to pay the gas for my heater and my water heater. And that would still be about, $15 a month, which isn't much, but, if you're not working, every single penny counts. And people don't take that into consideration. They assume that when they set up solar, if there's ever a blackout, you still have power, but that's just not the case in the majority of cases unless you are completely off grid. So, living debt-free is great. It's very freeing. It gives you opportunities. It makes you think that you can quit your job and do what you want, live your dream, do that type of thing where, what's that saying where, if you do what you love, you never spend a day of your life working. Well, that's great for about 0.1% of the population, but the majority of us, don't necessarily want to work in construction building houses for rich people. We don't want to work customer service jobs for people that can afford things that we can't. We don't want to sell plumbing supplies to corporations. Those are just not jobs that most people would want to do. That's not living the dream. And, even if you are debt-free, you do still have to work. You need to buy things. You need shoes. You need food. If you can't grow all of your own food, and you certainly, for the most part, can't do that in suburbia, where I'm living. You have to have decoration for your house. You can't just walk into an empty house. That's not how things work. Some of the things that I want to start doing now are crabbing and fishing. I don't necessarily like fish, but I guess I can get used to it. If there is ever an SHTF, I wouldn't have to worry about protein in that case. So, anyway, I know that I sort of went on a little bit of a rant and I got a bit off subject, but, being debt-free is not all it's cracked up to be. You still have bills even when you are debt-free. So that's just something to think about for you money savers out there. This is not necessarily a prepping video, but I think that prepping and money saving go hand in hand. So go ahead and leave your comments. That's it for now. Do what you can with what you got. Prepper Princess out.